All right, welcome everyone. It is Wednesday, it's 4:30 p.m., meaning it is time for the ViaMonstra Academy office hours. This is where you can ask questions on MDT, Intune, ConfigMgr, Microsoft infrastructure, PowerShell, Azure, Windows in general, OSD, most things Microsoft really. My name is Johan. I'll be your host for the next hour. And with that being said, let the questions start coming in. All right. Here we are. I'm keeping an eye on the chat from LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook, as well as the folks that have joined here in the Zoom call. So again, welcome everyone. So there was a question coming in already regarding basically deployments not showing up in Software Center. Let me just switch over to my demo environment real quick so we have a little bit of view and can see things. So the question is basically, have you seen an issue with user targeted deployment not showing up in Software Center? There is a case going on with Microsoft on that topic. I have only seen two things really related to deployments not showing up. Well, three things if you count that policies can actually be corrupt on the machine, but two things that are like quite common. So the question is here basically, you have a deployment to a user. It's supposed to show up in Software Center and it simply doesn't. What I have seen is that if there are multiple users logged in this case I only have one user, but if there are multiple, even if they're disconnected, I have seen deployments not showing up in Software Center. The other one that is quite common is if the time is wrong, meaning the computer is, say, in Chicago, but the time zone is not set to Chicago. I have seen deployments not showing up because of that. Those are unfortunately the only thing I have seen there. A tool that can be helpful in figuring things out is the Support Center tool. Starting with ConfigMgr 1810, I believe it was. When you go to your site server and go to Tools, you can install Support Center there on a client. And when you are on a client, if you start that tool, you can also run this remotely on a machine if you want. But if you go to policies, this is where you can actually listen for policy events. You can load actual policies. This is obviously for the device in this case. I want to check the device config, but also for the users that are here on the machine. So tools like that may help a little bit. I have seen scenarios where I have been forced to reset a policy. Don't recommend doing that because it can take a good half an hour for a machine to do that. But yeah, something like that. Hopefully that can help a little bit. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll have to continue to work with Microsoft Support until they figure it out. The only thing with those support cases is that they can take a little while to go through. It's all about finding the right person at the right time. So yeah. There was a question coming in on LinkedIn. Looking to add reverse DNS zones in your hydration kit in custom settings INI. I have not added in any functions to create DNS reverse zones there, but it's definitely possible to script that part in DNS. If you really want to. There should be plenty of examples out there. I haven't done it myself. I don't have a ready-made example I can share, but if you search for DNS reverse zones, PowerShell, I mean, we can do a quick Google search here together. shouldn't be too hard. That was something else I was looking for on a Nikolai script, I believe. Anyhow, uh, speaking of searching, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but GitHub has its own code search. And sometimes when you need to search for scripting snippets, you get way better results by searching in this than you ever get on Google or Bing or anything else. This is just an amazing search engine that you can apply for or log into. But let's go back to our friend Google and ms reverse zone or create maybe PowerShell. This looks good enough to me. Primary zone. Very. Here you go. There's an example to create a reverse lookup zone. Not that I have tried it, but it's a good example as any. I will put this one in the chat, and the things that I put in the chat will be uploaded to both the Zoom meeting that we have here and also to the website itself. So basically, if you go to the Academy site and scroll down to the free office hours, after you log in there, you will get all links from all Wednesdays in the past, basically. We have been trying to keep them updated as well on YouTube, but that gets done a little bit later, when time permits. But they will get added here pretty much immediately after the meeting. But I will put that in the chat for now, and I hope that answered that question. There was a question here in the Zoom call regarding changing ConfigMgr to HTTPS. I'm wondering if there is a method to confirm that the distribution points are healthy. The dist manager log files looks okay. IS on the DB doesn't show bindings would have me concerned. So if you're using a pure PKI environment, and I think I have one here I can spin up. Let me just see that I have enough memory to do that. Otherwise, this is going to be kind of embarrassing. I should have that. So let's see. Where did my PKI go? Here. Basically, these days I've been keeping around a few different ConfigMan environments just to test different scenarios, and one of them is to test out PKI scenarios. And the question was regarding bindings on the DP. So as soon as this one decides to actually start, I should be able to show it to you. I have a bunch of VMs running at the moment, so it's a little bit sluggish, but it should come up shortly here. It's going to check that I don't run out of disk space, because that's also be embarrassing. No, I'm good there. That one is going. Guy DPO1. IIS website. Bindings, HTTPS. This is what it should look like. So whatever certificate template that you configure for web servers in your PKI environment, that's what you should see binding to your distribution point here. So I hope that answered the question. There are some great guides around setting up PKI for ConfigMgr and also for troubleshooting. By far, the best guides for this are from Niall Brady. So on Windows Noob, this is a portal I have shared many times, but it has a link here directly to the guides. And you can find there is just a few guides on this page, probably a good 100 of guides that Niall Brady has been working on over the years. And there is a complete sort of PKI part here somewhere in these guides. See if I can find it. Maybe search for this. There are some guides related to it. Maybe we should search for HTTPS as well. Yeah. Some of them are a little bit older, but some of them are still very much valid, even for current branch. So I'm putting this link in the chat, so you'll have it. Guides from Niall Brady or guides from Niall Brady. There was a follow-up question regarding assignment of the cert. Yeah, that's something the binding I've changed on the IIS itself on that DP. There was another question here in the Zoom call. I have seen clients trying to, let's see. Basically, there is some deployments going, they're required, but the deployments have been configured so that users can actually run them if they want to. For example, if you have set a deadline later, but they are available now. So just to give you an idea what I'm talking about here. So if you have a deployment of anything really, take a package. I'm going to make a required deployment of this package. I'm going to pick a collection. Fantastic. When you do required deployment, pick a schedule, when it should be available, and when it will be expired, or basically hit. No, let's do this one instead. And this one. If you check this one, users can run it even though it had been published as a required deployment here. If that doesn't work, have to troubleshoot that one, I'm afraid. They should be available to run that even though it's past due. Don't remember on top of my head the exact logic when that kicks in, but as long as that checkbox is there, they should be allowed to run it. That's the part of that one. I haven't seen any scenarios where it doesn't. All right. Let's see what else. And on YouTube is asking, I was more of a comment really, jealous of your lab machine, Rogue 512. Yeah, this machine here has been a good friend over the years, for sure. Was a Christmas gift. Got it from eBay. I think we got it for $500-600, give or take. But this is C8040 workstation. And I have seen them for as low as 400 these days, but we paid somewhere in between 500 and 600 for them. Then I just added in some hard drives and added in some memory, and that allows me to run about 100 VMs at the same time before the machine gets tired. If you want to come away a little bit cheaper on the lab, I got this one here recently, as recent as in the last week. But this one here, Rogue 001, this is a Dell Optiplex that I got with 64 gig of memory, and I paid about 400 for it with the disk and the memory, used, obviously refurbished. But for 400 bucks, this is a pretty good lab machine. I have a terabyte NVMe SSD in it, and it only has 8 cores, but heck, I can run 10 VMs on this. It doesn't even flinch. So that was a good machine. If you look around a little bit, you can usually find machines for you don't have to spend a fortune to get a good lab machine, put it that way. As I said, this was about 400 bucks with 64 gigs of memory. Also, follow-up question, lots of VMs with small hard drive. Really only 6 terabyte? No, I have actually 8 terabyte, but that's not the point. The point is that I run most of my VMs on a 2 terabyte disk. So I have 4 SSDs, but most of my VMs are on this disk. And I'm only using about 1.5 of my 2 terabytes right now. And the reason I do this is because I'm using data deduplication. So I have about 4 terabytes of VMs, but they don't consume much on the disk. Now, this size on disk lies a little bit when using data deduplication, but I still have 4 terabytes of VMs on a disk that is much, much smaller. And what I found, as long as you don't mind running a dedupe job every now and then, you actually get a long way with a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. So on your lab server, run a server OS 2016, 2019, 2022, whatever you can get hold of, and enable dedupe. Because that way you can have a good few hundred of VMs even on such a disk. You just have to run the dedupe script a little bit more frequently. So to show you what I mean here, if I go to here, every time I start to run out of disk space on that drive, I run a dedupe job and I get the disk space back again. And then I can use it for another month, start to run out of disk space, run this again, get the disk back. A shameless plug, but I have no hesitance of this one because it's a free one. But we do have here on the Academy, we have a mini course about setting up lab environments. The price for this one is just right. And we haven't scheduled the one for Q3 yet, but I did one in April, and that recording is available. We also have the recording from earlier this year. So if you haven't seen this one, it's a good 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour training. If you have any plans for Friday, I recommend invite family and friends for a good video. You can have some snacks and possibly some beer with it. It would be great. I pasted a link in the chat there. All right, let's see. Follow-up comment there on a lab environment, can't commit or can't get the client to agree to purchase ConfigMgr. Yeah, that's a. I mean, ConfigMgr is a great platform, but unfortunately, there is a license cost to it. And if you cannot, if your customer or client that you work with won't commit to that, well, can't really use it. And you have to rely on other automation technologies like PowerShell, remote PowerShell, things like that, Intune. But if you get Intune, you get ConfigMgr, so it's about the same money anyway. Uh, I mean, there are plenty of other like cheaper, if not even free, management solutions out there. Zabbix has been quite popular over the years, Linux driven primarily. Uh, Spiceworks back in the days, uh, but you can actually get a pretty long way through just PowerShell if the environment is not too big. You can do a lot of cool things that way these days. All right. Let's see here in the Zoom call. I think I answered all the questions that came in there. Another question coming in on YouTube. Do you have any experience why I'm assuming cannot run Import-StartLayout to add my customized start menu? I've been fairly successful with that one, but I know it's quite picky about the syntax in the XML file that makes up that menu. You didn't say if it was Windows 10 or Windows 11, but there are some differences there in how this works. I know a good resource, and that would be Jørgen Nilsson, fellow MVP. He has been doing a lot of posts regarding start menu customizations. So if you search his blog for this is where you can see a ton of different examples, even for Windows 11, but it goes back all the way back to Windows 10, where you can continue to do work on that one. So would recommend search for that. I'll put this one in the start menu search in the chat. That should give you a good starting point. I got a question regarding copyright change. I'm assuming that's our little footer on the page. Yeah, that one could give some update. Thank you for that. I didn't even notice, but I'll make a note to make sure that happens. Thank you for that. I'm still so old, so I use pen and paper taking notes sometimes. So I think that's within my rights. Copyright here. All right. Good eyes there. All right, there was a follow-up comment regarding the start layout command not being recognized. What version of Windows is this that you're trying to run it on? I mean, basically, you should go to any Windows 10 client and whip up a PowerShell prompt, or PowerShellize if you prefer that, or VS Code or whatever, and you should be able to type in import start and hit tab, and it should show you the command. So I'm not sure why that is not available in your system. You can see what module this one is part of. It's part of the start layout module. I don't possibly know. Try to re-import that one, even if it was a native module. That's the only thing I can come up with. I have not seen this one not being available at all. Diego is asking, where's the chat where you are posting these URLs? This is in the Zoom call. Zoom, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on the Academy site, when you go to the office hours section, when you enroll in that one, you get like this once you logged in. You have all the archives in under each and every recording. This is where you post the links. But as I mentioned earlier, when we just started here, we have also been starting to post them up on our YouTube channel. We just started that one. So if you go to YouTube and search for ViaMonstra Online Academy, so this one linked right here, it will take you to that channel, and you will also find links there eventually. And apparently someone is doing a live stream there right now. That's probably me. So I'm going to ahead and close that one right now. Hopefully that will help. Any other questions? Be happy to answer. There was a follow-up comment on the hydration kit earlier regarding those DNS reverse zones. Is there an option to set that in the init files that comes with it? No, there is currently not. That will be something that you have to implement and use. There is no such native function in the platform, at least that I know of, I have seen. PowerShell is your friend. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I even dressed up for the occasion. This is a good old Microsoft Mechanics t-shirt. Good stuff there. Still going strong. That little platform has been around for a good few years now. All right. Any other questions? All right. If there are no more questions coming in,